He walked into the world's most luxurious hotel, and they treated him like he didn't exist. What they didn't know. He owned more power than all of them combined. And he came to reclaim what was stolen from his bloodline 70 years ago. But justice comes at a price. And sometimes the truth is buried deeper than the lies we're taught to believe. This isn't just a story about wealth. It's about a war between silence and the voice that finally dared to speak. James Lee, a powerful Chinese-American billionaire, stepped into the grand lobby of the Regal Hotel in Manhattan. He wasn't here for luxury or leisure. This visit had a purpose, one tied to something far deeper than appearances. But the welcome was far from warm. When James struggled to speak English, the air turned cold. The hotel manager, Robert Eaton, masked his prejudice behind perfect diction, then humiliated James in front of elite guests. Laughter followed. Mocking. Cruel. From the sidelines, Tiana Jackson, a quiet maid, watched silently. She understood every word James spoke in Mandarin. Then, something dropped. A jade phoenix necklace. It glimmered under the chandelier. Tiana's heart skipped. She bent down, reached for it, but froze, knowing that helping him might cost her everything. Sometimes injustice echoes louder than footsteps on marble. Robert Eaton stood tall, his voice icy as he instructed the front desk. Ignore him. Let him wait. James Lee, still trying to explain, pleaded again, his Mandarin flowing fast, desperate, unheard. Around him, guests whispered mockingly. A few chuckled. One even sneered. Tiana Jackson stood nearby, broom in hand. She'd seen this pattern before, Eaton's racism, polished and poisonous. James's eyes suddenly met hers. Not as a billionaire. Not as a stranger. Just a man, exhausted, pleading, human. Then the jade phoenix caught the light. Its soft green glow shimmered beneath the chandelier. Tiana's fingers trembled. Her heart pounded. And then she stepped forward and spoke fluent Mandarin. One voice can light a fire no one saw coming. Tiana stepped into the circle of judgmental stares, then gently returned the jade phoenix necklace to James. In perfect Mandarin she said, "This is yours, sir. May I help you?" The lobby fell silent. Even time seemed to pause. James blinked in shock, stunned by her fluency and moved by her compassion. From across the room, Eaton stormed forward. "You're a maid, not a translator," he snapped. "Stay in your place." But James stepped in, calm but commanding. "She's helping. And I trust her more than anyone else here." Tiana nodded, accepting James's offer to be his interpreter. Then came the twist. James gently turned the jade pendant in his hand. "This was my grandmother's. And this hotel, it was built on land they stole from her." From a dark corner, Eaton watched, and his face turned pale. He recognized the necklace, and panic set in. Some walls aren't built to divide, but to hide. In a quiet corner of the hotel, Tiana and James sat side by side. He shared his story, voice steady but heavy. "My grandmother, Mei Lin, she once owned this land. The entire block. Before it was stolen." Tiana's eyes widened. "Stolen?" James nodded. "By Eaton's ancestors. Through forged contracts and threats." Then he held up the jade phoenix. "She gave this to my mother. Said it would lead us back, to the truth." As they explored a dim hallway, Tiana paused. On a faded column near the baseboard, a tiny phoenix. Carved into the wood. Almost invisible. James stepped closer. Heart pounding, he lifted the pendant, and pressed it gently against the carving. A soft click echoed through the silence. And a hidden door slowly, creaked, open. When truth rises, the past starts to burn. The hidden door opened to a forgotten chamber, untouched by time. Dust hung in the air like memory itself. Stacks of aged documents lined the walls. Maps, deeds. And at the center, an ebony desk with a sealed envelope marked in red wax. James opened it carefully. Inside, a confession. Signed by George Eaton. He admitted to swindling Mei Lin. Stealing her land. Erasing her legacy. James's hands trembled. Tiana stepped closer, eyes wide. This changes everything." But neither noticed the tiny camera mounted just outside the entrance. Its red light blinked steadily. Hundreds of pages. Proof of betrayal. And in his office, miles away, Robert Eaton stared at the live feed, face twisted in rage. He picked up the phone and growled, "Steal everything. Burn the rest." The louder the truth gets, the more the darkness fights back. Night fell. And with it came silence and shadows. Two men slipped into James Lee's suite, faces hidden, gloves on. They moved with precision. Swift. Silent. Ruthless. By morning, everything was gone. The confession letter. The maps. The Phoenix Wing's entire archive vanished. James stood in disbelief, the room torn apart. Tiana arrived just as panic took hold. Moments later, a young hotel guard appeared. Kevin. Eyes anxious. Breath short. I saw them, he said quietly. Eaton ordered the footage wiped. No one's supposed to know what happened. Tiana's heart sank. But then Kevin reached into his pocket and pulled out a small USB drive. I wasn't supposed to, he whispered. But I saved one copy. The truth doesn't just destroy empires, it rewrites legacies. In a dim room lit only by a laptop screen, the stolen footage played back. Kevin's hands trembled. Tiana leaned in. James stayed silent. There, clear as day, Eaton's hired men. Entering. Stealing. Leaving. No doubt remained. Tiana made the call. Amanda Chun, a respected Chinatown historian. And Sarah Winters, an investigative journalist with a fearless record. Together, they unearthed a disturbing pattern. Land theft. Forged deeds. Suppressed lawsuits. The Eaton legacy wasn't built, it was stolen. Cornered, Eaton began making calls of his own, preparing to strike back. Then James said it. Come. Sure. Unflinching. I don't just want justice. I want the hotel. Legally. It was my grandmother's land. And now I'm taking it back. Amanda's eyes widened. She whispered. Then you'll need to expose Eaton. Publicly. Power built on lies can't survive the weight of truth. The expose hit like lightning. Front page headlines. Breaking news alerts. Regal Hotel's dark past exposed. Photos. Documents. Eaton's family history, laid bare. Protesters flooded the sidewalks outside the Regal. Signs held high. Chants echoing through Manhattan. Inside chaos. The board demanded answers. An emergency meeting was called. But Eaton moved first. He fired Tiana. Terminated Kevin. Then accused James Lee of sabotage, of launching a personal attack on the hotel's reputation. Security swarmed. James grabbed Tiana's hand. Now, he said. They ran. Out the back. Through alleys. Past honking taxis and shouting crowds. A black SUV gave chase. Footsteps thundered behind them. Through subway tunnels. Over market stalls. Until finally, they vanished into Harlem's shadows. But Eaton. He wasn't finished hunting. Not yet. When one story breaks the silence, millions listen. In a quiet Harlem brownstone, Tiana's mother opened the door. Elaine Jackson, graceful, strong, offered them shelter and something even more valuable, wisdom. James and Tiana regrouped. They reached out. To journalists, historians, community leaders. And the city answered. Grace Wong, 85 and sharp as ever, came forward. I knew Mlin, she said. She helped my family when no one else would. I watched them force her out. Kevin rejoined the cause, recovering even more footage. More staff stepped forward, each voice breaking the silence that had choked the Regal for decades. Momentum built like a wave. Then one morning James stood tall, dressed not in wealth but in purpose. He walked toward the press room podium, the world watching, the truth ready to be heard. Some endings are not conclusions, they're beginnings. The boardroom was tense. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. James stood firm, voice calm, evidence in hand. Documents. Photos. Testimonies. Footage. History that could no longer be buried. Then Eaton burst in, loud, furious, desperate. But this time no one flinched. Grace Wong stepped forward. Kevin played the video. The truth, undeniable. The board voted unanimously. Eaton was stripped of power. His reign ended. And the Regal Hotel, partially transferred back to James Lee. He didn't celebrate. Instead, he turned to Tiana and appointed her director of cultural relations. Soon after, the Phoenix Wing reopened. Not as a secret, but as a museum, a beacon of truth and reconciliation. Outside, across the street, a black SUV idled. Inside, a new figure muttered darkly. We underestimated them. Next time, we won't.